is going on, my friends? Welcome into the first NBA best ball strategy stream of the preseason. It is good to be back. My name is Zac Graham, aka Kawaisenberg DFS. Ready to get things started. You know, if you've been around FTN Fantasy here this offseason, you know we've already had the rankings up for about a month and a half. You've got your first best ball strategy article or best ball diary, as it were. And the first thing we're going to do here is go ahead and jump into a double dribble draft because these can take some time to fill here. You know, still just 2 weeks into the NFL season. Not everybody has recalibrated to, preseason NBA mode yet. But we've been there for a minute here at FTN Fantasy. So jumping in one of these now. I know Kinnick was in the Discord chat, ready to jump in. And we're waiting for 4 here. So if you're just tuning in, I'll go ahead and drop my top 200 rankings. These are updated every Friday leading up to the season. I see Josh in here. What's going on, my friend? Miss you too, buddy. So if you are getting into the YouTube live chat, I'm not sure if you can see this over on Twitter. All right, Chris, it's been 84 years. All right, so any returners will want to know, how far are you into your 150 draft journey on Underdog? I know you were at, I think you said 75 in early August. And diving, I think, into those DraftKings best ball streets was Chris, who you'll hear me refer to as UNC as we go here throughout the preseason. One of our longtime diehard best ballers here in the FTN Fantasy streets. And there's JJ getting on the YouTube chat. Only 31 left on Underdog as we have filled this first draft. So again, if you jump into the YouTube chat, you've got the link there for my top 200 rankings updated every Friday. Those are free, but if you are an FTN Fantasy subscriber, you will also get those best ball diary articles where I'm diving into strategies, how ADPs are shifting, my thoughts on a bi-weekly basis there. One of the biggest changes over the last week or two has been my guy, Kawhi Leonard, at the center of the NBA universe right now with the whole Clippers and aspiration debacle. That is not great. That is not great, and is somebody that I'm staying away from right now, unfortunately. If you guys know me, you know that's painful. Where's Wemby? Human Wemby or dog Wemby? I assume you're asking about my dear pupper there. He's taking a nap, hopefully. And the draft is underway here. See Maddie in there. I see UNC at 5. Kinnick at 2. If you are also in here and not in the chat, feel free to jump in and join us. We'll go to the board here. Kinnick grabs Giannis at 2, Jokic at 1. So we're chalk here so far. Should be a Wembanyama 3. But we've been seeing some SGA, some skinny Luka. And you see SGA going 3rd here in the first round. So I think Wemby at 4. I've got at least one Wemby at 5 over the last month, which felt really good. One thing that, and if you read the best ball diary, it was kind of a focus, always is the focus of my first iteration of the diary in the preseason, is talking about the games in the playoff rounds of these big tournaments on Underdog. And I do, so close to another Wemby at 5 there for UNC. So I think I'm on deck here at 10. We'll take the board down. We'll just go, and you will see as you're watching me here, I've got my ranks. So the top 200 ranks that I have at ftnfantasy.com, you'll also see those reflected on my board right here. So it is going to be a Sabonis at 10 for me. And you can see we can sort here by custom ranks as I have it sorted, or by the ADP. So we'll bounce back and forth between those to kind of see some of the discrepancies here. But we get started with a Sabonis share at the 10th pick. So like I was saying, those playoff schedules in these tournaments can be at the very least, they should be a nice little tiebreaker for you if you arrives at a pick in the draft, you're on the clock and you're between 2 or 3 guys. Typically, you're going to lean towards the guy that has more games in those playoff weeks. And that is kind of a hurdle with Jokic at 1. As we're back on the clock here, I will gladly scoop up Scotty Barnes, who I've got at 12 right now in the ranks, picking him up at pick 15 there. And we're off and running here in the second round. But, you don't need the Best Ball Diary articles, right, to go through the NBA schedule and count how many games each one of these teams has. But you see here, as UNC brings up, he's drafting a lot of Rockets and Pistons. And for good reason, because those are the 2 NBA teams that have 23 games on the schedule during the 6-week playoff rounds. And right on Underdog, it's important to remember that your playoff rounds during that 6-week period is 3 2-week scoring periods. So that's how you should break those up in terms of examining which teams have which number of games or how many games in those 2-week periods. You have to advance 3 times to get to that 125-person final in the double dribble. 100K up top this year. That is still, in my eyes, the premier best ball tournament here in the industry. And to that end, right, we're drafted on Underdog here. If you haven't signed up yet at Underdog, come get in on this action, man. Draft season is the best season. And I imagine most of you tuning into this, we just got done with NFL best ball season, right? And that's also a fantastic time. If you are missing out on all this, don't wait anymore. You can go over to Underdog right now. You sign up using the promo code FTN. And all you have to do is play $5 and you'll get $50 in bonus funds. So again, the promo code is FTN when you go sign up at Underdog. Get those bonus funds and then jump in these drafts with us. And one thing that's been nice to see, if you saw it on the screen share before we jumped into the draft room, is that there is a $3 20 max tournament already being offered. A large field 20 max tournament there on Underdog, which I love to see early in the season. And it looks like that is probably going to fill with a lot of time left before the season. So hopefully we get another one of those. You guys who know me know I love my 20 maxes. UNC, we need more people playing. I agree. JJ says, feels like JB is being drafted too low with no Tatum. Dello, my friend, what is going on? Good to see you, buddy. So bringing this back up, this question, because when the rankings first dropped, our buddy Mike Weisberg came on or responded to my tweet of the rankings, and he, Weisberg, a Celtics fan himself, right? And he was a little bit down, a little surprised at how high I had Jaylen Brown ranked. And I totally get what his point was, the Celtics are probably going to be pretty bad this year. And certainly not shocked if you see guys like Jaylen Brown, Derek White, sat down early and sat down during those playoff rounds. But for me, the numbers for JB without Tatum, it was like a 28 game sample or something that we were kind of bantering back and forth about. I lean more towards you, Josh, in terms of Jaylen Brown is being a little bit underdrafted there at the top of these drafts so far for the upside that he has. And again, the playoff rounds are important to pay attention to, but that can't be the entire, that cannot, to me, be your guiding light in these drafts, because you have to make the playoff rounds to worry about having or to worry about the number of games your guys have in those playoff rounds. So I am a big fan of that Jaylen Brown there at the early parts of the second round. I guess late first, depending on how things fall to you. So we're back on the clock. We've got Sabonis. We've got Scotty Barnes in tow. And this is where I'm looking at the teams behind me. The 11 slot has a guard and a wing, no bigs, 2 bigs taken at the 12. So I do need, I do have Franz Wagner higher in my rankings, but to kind of balance myself out here, because there is going to be a run on the flip side here of forwards that I'm fine taking as my second guy. And I think there is a clear tier break to me between a guy like LaMelo, and then you're getting into a Tyler Hero, a Derek White, a Desmond Bane, who's now in the Magic, right? So again, especially when I'm doing 150, counting the 20 max, 170 drafts this preseason here on Underdog. Sometimes I'm going to swap two guys, based on how the draft is falling. So we're back on the clock here. And I have been doing this a lot more of late. Just two big builds. And that's another thing that we'll talk about in the Best Ball Diary articles, right? Is what is the best roster build in terms of maximizing your ceiling, maximizing your chance to advance through this tournament. And we were going to discuss this in the next Best Ball Diary article, but where did I have this? So roster construction last year, the 7-7-2 build, right? So when we say those numbers, it's guard, wing, big. 7-7-2 build was the roster build that had the highest rate of advancement last season. Followed by 8-6-2 and 6-8-2. And again, 6-8-2 was barely above 7-6-3. But it was those two big builds that were advancing more often than the 3 big and 4 big counterparts. So we've got Sabonis, we've got Chet Holmgren, and now we're just going to load up on guards and wings. Of course, if somebody, say Jaren Jackson stuck around to my next pick, I'm probably just going to take him there. Because again, if this is your first time jumping into Underdog Best Ball, every scoring period, your top 2 scoring guards, top 2 scoring wings, 1 big, and then a flex will comprise your score for that scoring period. So you can get your 2 top bigs in there. So I think that is, to me, like, if you get a guy like a Chet, or you're looking for upside on somebody in the late 3rd, early 4th, a Zion, a Joel Embiid, even, like when when Joel Embiid falls to like 50th, I feel like I have to take him, and that hasn't been happening too much. But it's a non-zero amount of Joel Embiids I have at pick 50 or later. Hey, there's Maddie. I'm not sure if Boston is going to let Jaylen Brown run wild with Tatum out, or if Jaylen Brown will be shut down to improve their draft position. Now, again, I think this is a conversation I'm totally fine extending here, and probably not the only stream we're going to have this discussion on, right? But the numbers, and I guess while we're here, right, we're going to be here a while on the draft live stream. Let me see if I can recreate that query. Jaylen Brown averages without Jason Tatum. Yeah, so here's Jaylen Brown. His last 28 games without Jason Tatum, which I think goes back 2 years. Might be 3. 28.8 points, 8.2 rebounds, 4.9 assists, 1.3 steals. Shooting 50, 33, 76. Look, man, they're not shutting him down in the first half of the season. That's for sure. And I don't think, I think another aspect, Maddie, of the Celtics is considering the conference that they're in. The Celtics are not going to be a good team. They're not going to be a contender league-wide. As this is going to be marketing for me here. You talk about a team that you worry about shutting somebody down. Like, I will take Lauri Markkanen every day at 58. And maybe I'm letting some of my Eurobasket brain bleed in there because Lauri Markkanen was fantastic over the last 3 weeks. I think Utah's over-under is 18.5, which is one of the lower win totals that we've seen over the last few years. So I have some worries with Lauri Markkanen too at that point, but to be able to get him in the late 50s feels pretty good. I want to jump back to Jaylen Brown after I get this last pick in. I guess I'm just not so certain that the Celtics are going to be out of it as quickly as people think. If I did not have Scotty Barnes, let's say that was Jaylen Brown that I got at pick 15, then I may even go 3 wings here and take Brandon Ingram. But I don't want to double up on Raptors. We have some injury concerns right now for Darius Garland. I believe the last update was Garland is expected to miss some time, undefined, at the beginning of the season. But to get Darius Garland here in round 6. And so now we've started from the 10 spot. LaMelo Ball, Darius Garland, Scotty Barnes, Lauri Markkanen, Domantas Sabonis, Chet Holmgren. That feels pretty good. So get back to the board here. Is this an okay zoom? Do you guys want it to zoom out anymore? Just let me know. But yeah, I mean, for Jaylen Brown, again, I'm not trying to dismiss the concerns about resting him, or shutting him down, rather, near the end of the season and in those playoff rounds. But again, I got to get my teams to the playoffs. And that feels pretty good at the top of the second round. UNC says fine for me. Good. Dello, massive fan of Chris Boucher. I know he doesn't project well, but his points per minute is just insane. Yeah, and I guess sticking with the conversation here on the Celtics, right? I think Derek White is being drafted fairly. It would be very tough to make an argument, I think, for Derek White over any of the guys that are sitting above him at the position in ADP right now. But with the way the Celtics roster is constructed, man, Derek White could have a huge season as long as they run him out there. And then to Dello's point, bringing up Boucher, I think Boucher and Emi Ushketa are guy per Squeezius McStuffins. If you've been around FTN for almost since inception, you'll get that one. But those guys, I mean, their front court is disgusting. And Boucher wing eligible here on Underdog. Yeah, saying Kata gonna blow up. Dello chiming in there. I'm with you, man. He's a value right now, and potentially somebody he's moved up my ranks over the last couple weeks. Digging into all the depth charts, digging into. I'm getting some NFL news here, as we tend to do on the stream. Christian Kirk expected to play next week. We're coming back up on the clock here. So 2-2-2 so far is the roster build. And look at that. A nice little group of guards here, still at the top for us to take our pick from. Let's see. Don't want to miss anything here. UNC saying, understanding tier breaks and positional scarcity is huge in NBA best ball. Completely agree. UNC, you did. I assume you got Modest here. Oh, yeah. Well, we're taking Cam Thomas and not thinking twice about it. UNC got AN and Buzelis at 68. Yep. I like it. Taking Modest even higher than you were last year. As you should. I'm with you. All right, we'll go ahead and click Cam Thomas in there. This is probably going to be guard at the 7-8 turn. Not that excited about Christian Brown. Did Fred go just before me? Okay, yeah. So Simons would be the pick going by my rankings. And that's probably what I'm going to do here. And I would, if we have any Celtics guys in the chat, and Maddie, I think you are a Celtics fan. Let's take the temperature on this entire team, right? Because it seems like we're a little bit uncertain about taking Jaylen Brown as high as he's going as a group here. I think we're fine on D. White. What about Simons, right? Late 7th, early 8th. I know he might not be on the Celtics the whole year, but he also doesn't scream he doesn't profile to me as the guy that they would shut down crazy early. I don't think they're going to have that much trouble losing games if they want to lose games. Oh, that's right. My bad, Maddie. Well, in this, you're loving this season. You can take all the Pistons if you want. Let's see. Tough to click the Nuggets, sadly. Yeah, I mean, it's... If I did, I don't know if I mentioned that earlier, as we're jumping all over the place here in the first stream of the season. But Denver is one of two teams with only 19 playoff games. Or games in the playoff rounds, rather. Denver and Atlanta. UNC says, I have absolutely zero Cam Thomas this year. Do not like what's going on between him and the team. I don't disagree with that, Chris. But as long as he's playing, I mean, it's 20 plus shots a game, right? Who else is shooting besides him and Michael Porter Jr.? Who? I mean, like, I don't like what's going on between Cam Thomas and the team. I don't know if the team likes what's going on between the ears of Michael Porter Jr. I don't know. Just speculating there. Let's check out what some of our friends have been doing. UNC himself started Luka at 5, then KD, John Morant, DeMar DeRozan, Jalen Duren, DeAndre Ayton at the big spot. He's also got Modest Buzelis, his guy, and Scoot Henderson there at 8-8. Kinnick drafting out of the 2 spot. Giannis, Josh Giddey, Cooper Flagg, Jaren Jackson there at 4-11. I like that. Austin Reeves, RJ Barrett, Alex Sarr at 7-2. I like that as well. Another one of my top 10 drafted players so far. Maddie went Paolo, LeBron, then doubled up on bigs, Mobley, Zoo, and then 4 straight guards, Bane, IQ, Jordan Poole, Jaden Ivey. You got to like that start as well. Kinnick added Porzingis at 98 overall. Chris on the clock now with his 9th round pick. He takes Klingon, another guy hanging around the 100 range in terms of ADP. Very excited to get Klingon shares where he's being drafted. So coming around here to the 9-10 turn, we've got the 4-2-2 build. And things are thinning out in terms of guards and wings that you're, overly excited to get onto your roster. In terms of guards for me right now, Monk, CJ McCollum, D'Angelo Russell. And Russell, a guy whose ADP has been dropping of late, which I think is a little interesting. Again, this is my thoughts on D'Lo from a real hoop standpoint and from a best ball / fantasy standpoint are very different. We're on deck here, and we need wings. You can see I've got it filtered still here by my rankings. Aaron Gordon would be the pick. He's a Denver guy, not going to help you that much in the playoffs, right? You're not going to feel great having, loading up on Denver guys in the playoffs. But at this point, he is the best wing available and the best wing I could take at that spot to help me get to the second round. And now, my friends, I think this is where right around the hundreds, the 110 spot is where you really start to see people differ with their rankings, who they're going to reach on, who they're going to leave for everybody else. And this is where I'm a little bit higher than the field on a guy like Cam Whitmore. It's a risky pick. It is a pick that could certainly not help you a ton in the 17-week qualifying round. But you think about teams that are going to be bad, and you think about what Cam Whitmore has done in limited time, right, in the G League, when he was called up to the first team there in Houston. Now the opportunity to kind of take that next step and level up with this Washington team. A little bit higher on Cam Whitmore than the field. Let's get back to the board here with UNC on the clock as Maddie goes ahead and takes Rish Ashay at 114. Says, can you talk about teams like Dallas where things might be spread out between the three big guys? Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's spread out. Like, I would not lump Anthony Davis in there. He's gonna play. Well, while he's healthy, right? Like, I still think Lively, unless there's a Mavs fan that has heard something or seen something that I haven't. Lively should be the starter there. Gafford should be the backup. I think I have them like 2 spots apart in the rankings right now with Lively on top. Lively and Gafford are not guys I'm getting a ton of outside of like a 3 big build, trying to sneak them in there. But again, it all depends on how the draft falls to you, right? It depends on the first 2 bigs that I can get in there into a 3 big build. I have found myself waiting on that 3rd big to like a Nemiush Keita, even as late as Derek Queen, Jay Huff, Young Hansen, right? Some of these guys you can grab in rounds 15 and 16. Not a huge fan of the Dallas front court outside of the Brow. Even PJ Washington, right? I think he's going to be in a 6th-man role this year. And I haven't looked at the odds yet, but I would be interested to see how he's priced. Another guy, man, Dylan Harper. And look, here's where the bias accusations can come in, I guess. But to be able to get Dylan Harper at an ADP of 140 right now, he's in my top 10 guys drafted. Now, he is going to come off the bench to start the year for San Antonio. But the limited amount of time, and also has a thumb issue right now, so maybe that's causing the drop, because I think he is going to miss some of camp and maybe into the beginning of the season as we're on the clock here. My friends, I said I was going to have a 2 big build here. I can't pass up Khalil Ware at pick 130. So that's going to be the pick, and we'll get a guard or a wing here on the turn to start the 12th round. But you got to stay flexible in the middle of these drafts. Okay, Dylan. Yeah, no, we're taking Cam Whitmore in the 10th round for sure. So we're 4-4-3 here in the hole for our 12th pick. Harper is a guy I'm fine to take. Bub. DeJounte, I've got a little bit above where the field is taking a chance on him. Coming off the Achilles injury. Then you've got a guy like Tari Eason. You know, he's a darling in the FTN Fantasy Discord. Con Knipple, too. Like, I think I've got PJ Washington ranked 2 spots above Knipple. I think I'm more excited about the upside of Con. Dylan Harper it saves me from my fandom there. I'm going to jump down here and take Tari Eason. You know, it did not help our guy Tari that Houston brought in Durant. But a couple injuries to that Houston front court, especially late in the season when they're one of those 2 teams with 23 playoff games. We'll take Tari there. Right at ADP, 135. I also think there are a number of, over the next 2 or 3 rounds, there are more guards that I like rostering than wings. How bad are the Clippers going to be this year? The Clippers had one of the better free agencies of any team. Now, if the league brings the hammer because of this aspiration thing, then we're maybe talking a different story. But, and of course, the team is old, right? The team is very old. But, I mean, their top 10 is, I mean, let's say top 11. James Harden, Brad Beal, Kawhi Leonard, John Collins, Ivica Zubac, Chris Paul, Chris Dunn, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Nick Batum, Brooke Lopez, Derek Jones Jr. That's a tough out. If Kawhi gets hammered, yeah, I mean, if Kawhi, I mean, I think worst case scenario for him is like, I mean, if you hit him with the nuclear option, which is you're banning Ballmer and probably Dennis Wong from team activities, all that, I don't know if that's the correct term that would be used, but I think you guys pick up what I'm putting down there. You void Leonard's contract with the team. And I think that could spell disaster for the West because I think he might just stay in town and go to the Lakers on a minimum deal or some shit. Who knows? And to take away the draft picks that they have that I think are available after like 2029. Dello saying he wants to draft John Collins and Brad Beal a decent amount. I mean, that's certainly not a bad idea here while we are in this limbo of wondering what's going to happen. But I also think like there's a chance that this is investigated throughout the season and we go 6 months without any sort of punishment, right? So like right now I'm not drafting. Like I think Kawhi dropped to 80 something in the ranks on Friday. So I'm not getting any of him at this point, but I don't think I'm leaping up. Like I'm not boosting the other wings or the other high usage guys in that team quite yet in the ranks. But I'm certainly not saying that you're wrong for doing so. 4-5-3 build here, back up on the clock. By ADP, it would be a reach to get Jeremiah Fears at this spot. But that is what I'm going to do. You talk about a guy who could be getting all kinds of minutes and usage during those playoff rounds. I like the Jeremiah Fears pick a lot. No real advantage there from a playoff game standpoint. Pelicans are one of those teams that has 21, so right in the middle. Every team has between 19 and 23 games in that 6-week playoff period. And JJ says if Kawhi gets the hammer, Harden gets fat for sure. I mean, I don't think that, I think Kawhi can not be punished and Harden might be out of shape either way. It's definitely not easier for the guy to stay in shape at his age that he is now compared to when he used to, pile on the pounds in the off season. I have a ton of Jarris Walker, so even though I still have him ranked over Chris Boucher, it is going to be Boucher joining the team here. I mentioned that group of guards around these rounds. Right, Fears is in there for me. Cason Wallace, Reed Shepherd, right? Cole Anthony, who's like almost going undrafted at this point. I think he's well worth a flyer. Backing up Kevin Porter Jr. there in Milwaukee. And I'm not saying it's likely, but I don't think we should be shocked if the Bucks are terrible and Giannis asks out somewhere in the middle of the year. Now, re-signing Thanasis takes that possibility even lower. But I don't think it's crazy. I mean, because they have no flexibility in the future. Zero. Seeing these guys, Draymond and Lively, drop a little bit here. Jonas Valanciunas, another guy that I was loading up on a ton when his ADP was in the high 180s. He was up into the 160s last week. Now, it seems like it's balanced out in terms of his ADP. They're sitting at 175. Can Skinny Luka finally win MVP? Absolutely. Absolutely. Lakers are going to be good, man. They had a good offseason. They didn't have a ton of flexibility, but bringing in Ayton for it was like $10 million contract or something like that. Like, it's been worse. That is a lot better than Jackson Hayes and Christian Coloco being your two main guys at the 5. Hopefully Maxi Kleber can stay healthy for them. Laravia, Marcus Smart. They had a good offseason. I don't know if Luka, he's certainly not the MVP favorite. You're playing next to LeBron. It's going to be really interesting to see how JJ Redick manages that rotation this year. Does LeBron get traded? No, I do not think so. Dello also with the no LOL. I guess I do think this could be, and maybe even should be thought of as LeBron's likely last season in LA. Right? Because this is the first time that he didn't decline the player option and re-up on a new 1+1, right? If I recall correctly. All right, here coming up for the last 2 picks on the 15-16 turn. Got a 5-6-3 build. So we did pick up Ware 28 or 27 picks past ADP to get that third big in there. Don't leave me, Jarris. Don't leave me, Jarris Walker, Baby Stevie, and WTF Braun 97. I have too much Jarris Walker already. Another guy who now with the trade we saw yesterday, and that was Kobe Buffkin. All right, well, we're going to take Jarris Walker. If you guys are going to leave him till the end of the 15th round, I will scoop up another share. But Kobe Buffkin being traded to the Nets really makes me feel bad about my Yegor Demon shares. Because until that move yesterday, Demon was one of my favorite guys to snag near the end of drafts. And, he still went at 12-9 to Glitch in the 4 spot. So here at the end, right, all these bigs. Derek Lively would be great right here. Russell Westbrook still a free agent, likely going to sign with somebody. Aaron Wiggins, Terrence Shannon, also guys that I'm interested in at this juncture here with your last pick, but it is going to be Cole Anthony for me. Cole Anthony now with the Bucks. So that concludes my picks. We still got Maddie and Chris and Kinnick closing out their drafts. $774 in Jarris shares for you, and you think you have too much. Yeah, I don't know, man. I love Jarris where you can get him. And you can see, I think my ranking is like 25 spots above ADP at this point. I'm just begging for people to take him before I just have to. So Maddie closed out with the Terrence Shannon pick. I'm very excited about a Terrence Shannon in the 16th round type of pick. Really high upside there. Also, I see Chris loading up with the Jovic in the 14th, Ron Holland in the 15th. Glitch took Danny Wolf, too. Are you in here, Glitch? I like that team a decent amount. Outside of the Kawhi at 6.9 is just, it's a risk still. But if he plays, UNC, Gary Trent Jr. Now Nick going to close us out here. And we'll run another one, everybody. I mean, it only took us about 40 minutes to get through this first one. So we will definitely jump in another. And look, if you're tuned in right now, if you want to jump into the live chat, come on over to the YouTube channel. I'll repost the top 200 ranks here as we get ready for another draft. Those are back in the YouTube chat. And we'll do a second one. Dello saying only drafting on DK this year. Why is that? It is a little bit softer over there. I hate the UI for their drafts. Almost nothing at guard. Last round dries up quick. Yeah. I mean, in this room, too, I mean, Derek Lively at 192. That is pretty nice. Jokic, Naz Reid at 120 for the one spot there. And Derek Lively at 192. All right, so we closed out this draft. From the 10 spot, the 6-7-3 build had Sabonis, Chet Holmgren, Khalil Ware as the three bigs. Guards, LaMelo Ball, Darius Garland, Cam Thomas, Anthony Simons, Jeremiah Fears, and Cole Anthony. And on the wing, Scotty Barnes, Lauri Markkanen, Aaron Gordon, Cam Whitmore, Tari Eason, Chris Boucher, and my guy, Jarris Walker. We had Maddie at the 7. Wings, Paolo, LeBron, Reese Ashe, PJ Washington, Obi Toppin, Lou Dort. Guards, Desmond Bain, IQ, Jordan Poole, Jaden Ivey, Brad Beal, Kaysen Wallace, and Terrence Shannon in the 16th. Bigs of Evan Mobley, Ivica Zubac, and Mark Williams. UNC out of the 5. Guards of Luka, John Morant, Scoot, Trey Johnson, 116. So you can see Trey Johnson starting to creep up a little bit there. Quentin Grimes, Gary Trent Jr. on the wing, KD, DeMar DeRozan, Modest Buzelis, of course, Norman Powell, Herb Jones, Nikola Jovic, and Ron Holland and Kinnick out of the 2. Giannis, Cooper Flagg, RJ Barrett, Jabari Smith Jr., DeAndre Hunter, and Jeremy Grant on the wings. Josh Giddey, Austin Reeves, Kevin Porter Jr., Devin Vassell, DJ Murray, Reed Shepard, and Marcus Smart in the backcourt. Triple J, Alex Sarr, and Tingus Pingus in the front court. It's a good draft, everybody. Well done. We'll jump into another. Let's do it. Just waiting on 3 here. So if you want to jump in and draft with us, come on in. And one more time, real quick, if you have not signed up yet at Underdog Fantasy, you go over to Underdog Fantasy or you download the app. Sign up using the promo code FTN. All you got to do is play $5 and you'll get $50 in bonus funds. Not a bad deal over there at Underdog. Just waiting on 3 here for our second draft of the afternoon. Yeah, Dello saying feels like it's less sharp over on DK. Agree. I would assume too, especially right now. Might make my way over there. But we are a underdog stream here. This is an underdog house, Mike. I don't think I've seen Dello since we did our Christmas Day slate stream, which went amazing. We swept the props on that stream, if I recall correctly. Still waiting on 2 here. Dello, I think we got to run it back, dude. A little Christmas Eve stream. Yeah, it was a very Merry Christmas Day, or Christmas night, once that Suns-Lakers game wrapped up. I believe that was the nightcap on the Christmas Day slate last year. I mean, we're only, I think, 2 weeks away from training camps opening. Especially for the teams. We got at least 2 teams going to the Abu Dhabi games, I think. We are a week away. Media days for teams traveling outside of North America for preseason games. That is the Nets, Knicks, Sixers, Pels, and Suns. Media day next Tuesday. So we'll have some media day quotes to be talking about on next Tuesday's stream. So it'll be the next day on Wednesday when those 5 teams can start practicing. And then it'll be the following Monday, the 29th, when all training camps open and we have media days for the other 25 teams. It is right around the corner, my friends. Still waiting on 2. Come on in and join us. We are 2 weeks in now to your NFL season, right? How's your fantasy year going? I'm talking season long. I'm talking DFS. I'm talking your betting picks. It's been a good one so far over here. Although I did the couple entries I had in on Underdog NFL wise over the weekend came up short for me. So that was a little unfortunate, but did well in the DFS, the 20 max DFS contest. And we had a really good sim score on some Lions lineups that I had in my 20 max. So shout out to Alex and Caleb and the team here at FTN for helping me out with those in the optimizer. Running the sims there for the large field MME contest. 5 tutters from Jared Goff. That'll help you out. Still waiting on 2 here. Like I mentioned at the top, it can take a while for these to fill here in mid-September. I mean, there was a stream last year, right? I think we were on for 3 hours. It might have been like almost 3 hours and we only got 2 drafts in. Waiting for 1 here now, so you're on the precipice of our second draft of the day. Chris says, I'm guessing Underdog has some season-long props up for NBA. I believe they do. I believe they do. Take a look. I'll go app here so we don't have to jump off the page. So he says they do. Scrolling. NBA season. I don't think I'm a fan of the way the UI changed on the app here to give us like these big player cards, I guess is what I would call them. See, Maddie says, was waiting on a stream with Zakarian for an hour and a half, and when it finally started, someone took McCall Bridges 101. That is your August and September NBA best ball streaming, huh? Shout out to Mikey Zacks. We'll get our traditional home and home going here as the season approaches. So I'm looking at not a ton. Oh, okay, that's just popular. So they only have, Chris, they only have points per game props up right now. And it's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. There's only 19 of them up there. One of them's Dylan Harper. So, okay. Kind of seems like they took like the best player from half the teams and put him up there. Huh. Some interesting numbers there. Still waiting on one here, everybody. So look, if you're waiting in the wings, don't be shy. Come jump in this double dribble draft with us. It'll take about 40 minutes. So let's see, Maddie, Dello, anybody else that has been in the chat. Who else? I already asked UNC. Although I will ask you again, Chris, what's your number of drafts on DK? How deep is everybody into their NBA best ball drafting so far? I am definitely ahead of where I was last year. I think my overall number of drafts is like in the 60s. And I think I'm just over 50 in terms of double dribbles. So I'm ahead of where I was last year, but it is a marathon. UNC says sure we'll get more in the upcoming weeks. Yeah, man. I mean, and we have filled this draft now, so looks like I'm at the 8. Maddie picks up the 101. Kinnick at 3. UNC at 4. So we've got basically that turn in the chat there. I see you, Mike. Mike's a carrion, everybody, at the 11. I feel like Rorschach is a familiar name. Larry Bird in the chat. Not in the chat, in the draft. Getting started in about 20 seconds. But yeah, man, I mean, as NBA approaches, right, next Tuesday when media days start happening for those teams going abroad, like people, ears are going to perk up. Oh, the NBA is coming up, So 2-3 weeks from now, these drafts will be flying. Dale says, what do you think of the Pacers, specifically Benedict Mathurin and Andrew Nembhard? I'm a little bit more excited for Mathurin, especially position considered here on Underdog. I know there can be some differences in positionality between Underdog and DraftKings, where you said you're drafting this preseason. So Nembhard's fine, right? He's in that group with like Ivy and Van Vliet and Scoot for me, Anthony Simons. He's fine. Like, again, I get a little bit more excited about Mathurin. Dell says he kind of loves him. I mean, the Pacers overall, man, like with no Hallie, and there's value to be had. They are a 20 game team, so they're not at the floor, but they are in kind of they're on the lower end there in terms of your playoff target tiebreakers. Give me Fred VanVleet over Nembhard. And UNC already 60-ish in the DK main. And you don't do a lot of slow drafts, right, Chris? Maddie says he's 58 drafts in for the double dribble. So we're kind of on a similar pace there. Oh, we're on the clock here. This is going to be Paolo at 8. And I like it. I do have a lot of Paolo Banchero here so far this season. Let me see if I can. We'll use the old mobile device here and try to go get my exposures. Sometimes you got to restart the app to kind of get it to put out the correct information. Still staring at that Jarris Walker up top. Get a little restart. Rorschach takes Anthony Davis. Pull these up. UNC says, yeah, all fast drafts for you. I don't know. I like to split it, man. I like having a number of drafts going on the slow side of things as well. All right. Completed. Exposures. There we go. Where's Paolo? Yeah, I'm at 16% Paolo. I would have thought I had a little bit more than that, to be honest, but certainly not shy about clicking Banchero in there in the 6 to 9 range. Zakarian takes Trey Young. He's back up on the clock here. And takes Jaylen Brown. Bias. I am happy to report that Yegor Demon has gone from my second most drafted player to my fifth most drafted player. And that's going to keep falling after that Buffkin trade. To be honest, like that's Kobe Buffkin is going to be somebody that finds his way into the top 200. All right, we're on deck here. Rob to blue at the 10 spot went double big. And Sabonis Şengün. I'm not sure I have more than one Karl Anthony Towns share yet. And that streak continues as he goes off the board at 16. And I will gladly bring LeBron James along for the ride at pick 17. So we start Paolo LeBron. Would have also been fine with a Paolo KD pairing there. Of course, KD has the advantage in terms of the playoff games, but it's just a 1 game difference between Rockets and Lakers. So I still lean LeBron between those two guys. Okay, so Maddie's saying might be my bias showing, but 42% Ivy. Maybe a little bit, but also a 23 game Piston. I don't have any issue with that. Going north of 40% owned in best ball drafts it's a strong stance, and maybe putting it lightly. But I'm certain, I usually have at least a guy or two that I'm like that heavily invested in. And here's why I have to stop taking Jarris Walker, though, because I'm looking at this, right? Like, I have one player owned more than 35% right now. And it's Jarris Walker, basically double that, 68% so far. So I need to chill with the Jarris Walker. But all tied for second now for me is Dylan Harper, Ron Holland, and Darius Garland. Other names up there: Demon, Desmond Bane, Paul George, Alex Sarr. A couple guys we took in the last draft: LaMelo, Jeremiah Fears. See, we got Maddie went Jokic at the 1, then on the 2-3 turn, Jalen Johnson and Spider. Kinnick started Wemby, Harden, Cooper Flag. And UNC, SGA, KD, and Tyrese Maxey. It's a strong start for everybody here. Maxey over Brunson is interesting to me, though, UNC. I didn't see that he was still available. Is that something, are you doing that consistently, a Maxey over Brunson? Because for me, I think 8 or 9 times out of 10, I'm going Brunson there. To me, like, Brunson is like the top end of that tier, and Maxey and Fox are kind of the end of it. We're going to get a guard that we like here. And once again, Franz Wagner hanging around in the 3rd. We've also got 2 guys with 2 bigs there. And Mikey at the 11. I mean, I'm going another LaMelo, man. Like, if he stays healthy, maybe I'm just biased. I've always been biased towards LaMelo, right? However many years ago it was when I was like, I'd take LaMelo over John Morant. I don't think that ended up too great, but it's not like John Moran has had smooth sailing over the last 2 years. UNC says a bit, low on all the Knicks, more depth, bad playoff schedule, 2-game final week. Yeah. But I mean, you could play 2 games in a final week, and some of those guys might play more minutes than the other guys who have 3. Oh man, it's gonna be weird. It's gonna be weird not seeing Tibbs over there and not having the guaranteed massive minutes, right? Okay. Buddy in the 10 spot is having a tough time. Started Sabonis, Şengün, Chet Holmgren. Do not do this. Do not draft 3 straight bigs. So this person in the 10 spot just took a player in the 3rd round. Now one of these 3 players he's taken in the first 3 rounds cannot score every scoring period. 1 big, 1 flex. So we got the 1-2-0 build here. And it will be Triple J for me. Desmond Bane out of town. So we started Paolo, LeBron, LaMelo, and Triple J. Now we're moving through the 4th. I realize as I'm leaning here, like halfway off the screen. Not that you guys are here to see my face or anything. We're looking at this draft board. So we got UNC on deck here. He's got 2 guards and a wing. SGA Maxey backcourt. KD on the wing. I guess that seeing Zubac go after Triple J there, that Zubac might be the guy in the first 4 or 5 rounds that I'm lowest on relative to the field. I don't think we see the same type of production, the same type of minutes from him now that you've brought in John Collins, now that you've brought in Brook Lopez. There was no backup last year. JJ, I'm only here to see your face. Well, thanks, buddy. Try to keep it front and center for you. So UNC grabs DeMar DeRozan with his 4th pick. So that's a 2-2-0 to start. Kinnick adds Jalen Green at 46 overall. Then Miles Bridges. Now Maddie up here on the turn. Fantastic. Dyson Daniels at 412. So the 2-1-1 for Maddie here on the clock for the first pick of the 5th round. And goes Jalen Duren. Like I would have Zubac, or I do have Zubac closer to Jalen Duren than, the Jackson, Embiid, Zion tier. Kinnick grabs Desmond Bane. Now Chris on the clock. And we're coming up here in a few picks. See if Double Minor takes Embiid with a 2-2-0 here in the 5th round. He doesn't. Josh Hart. And you can sort here by ADP. So Embiid, Trey Murphy, Kawhi Leonard. And you can see Kawhi's ADP continuing to drop here with the aspiration story. I think I did see something last night that there's like a collab between Pablo and another outlet, I forget the name, that's going to drop more information about the aspiration story. It is not looking good for the old Clippers. Oh. Oh. Embiid goes at 55. Well, I took Markkanen last time. Might have to do it again here. Yeah, we'll take Laurie again. It'd be fine to go Jimmy. Be fine to go Brandon Ingram. I'm a little bit lower on Trey Murphy than the field, but he's fine. Joe Burrow officially on injured reserve. Look, I love, watching the Bengals be miserable, but that just feels unfair. Poor guy's always hurt. Maybe invest in the O-line, Bengals. And Chris says, yeah, another Pablo story incoming. We've got 2 3 center builds already, so let's go to the board. We know that the 10 spot did that. And we've also got the 7 spot now with Cade and Siakam, and then Bam, Zubac, Embiid. Once again, do not do this. Already taken a player in the first 5 rounds that will not be able to score every week. Who's worse, Bengals or Dolphins now? It's probably the Bengals. Leave my Bengals alone. I can't keep up with your fandom, dude. I feel like it changes every year. All right, we're coming back up here. Speeding towards pick 6, 5. I think it's going to be another Cam Thomas for me here. I got no problem taking the guy who's going to get 20 plus shots a game. Right? And Brooklyn is one of those teams with 22 games in the playoff rounds. Into the middle of the 6th here. At least Larry Bird didn't take a 4th big there. This is shaping up to be a 3 big type of build here, since we've only got our hands on 1 big through the first 6 rounds. Finns have the worst defense in the NFL and no O-line. I feel like you could sub Bengals in there and it would also be fairly accurate. They're both in trouble. Although, Jake Browning, when Burrow was out in the second half of last year, right? Didn't Browning win 3 or 4 of those 6 or 7 games? Not that they looked great, but it's probably the Dolphins, but neither of them are having a fun time. So UNC grabs Osser. Very nice, pick 69. You gotta love Osser, man. He doesn't have to come into this season dealing with the blood clot issue, right? And it took almost a month for him to get out there. Then he was limited. Never really got his footing, right? The Tobias Harris acquisition coming into last season, Tim Hardaway, Malik Beasley, that didn't help him either. but I mean, should have his starting spot this year, right? It'd be Cade, Jaden, Tobias, Osser, Duran. If Maddie's still around, can confirm that projected starting 5 or not. Right? Like, we're done with the beef stew at the 4 shit, right? Hopefully. Bengals backup QBs better than JJ in Minnesota. Yeah, man, I'm going to give him a pass on that second game. Didn't he have his first child like 48 hours before that? I don't know. All right. It's going to be Jordan Poole time here at pick 80 overall. We got Jeremiah Fears late in the first draft. We go Jordan Poole here in the second draft. So through 7 rounds, I've got a 3-3 build here. Guards, LaMelo Ball once again, Cam Thomas once again, and Jordan Poole. On the wing, we've got Paolo, LeBron, and another Lauri Markkanen share. And then Jaren Jackson, the lone big at this point. So we're coming around here, the 7-8 turn. Van Vliet, Steph Castle. Zakarian goes Nemhard at 83 overall. Gobert goes off the board. And we're into the 8th round. Maddie says, fun stat. The Pistons took 26 charges last year, 18 by Tim Hardaway. I don't think a lot of people do. I love guys who take charges. Like from a real hoop standpoint. I want those guys on my team. At least one. You got to have a charge guy. And like I was giving the Lakers praise earlier for their offseason moves. How about the Nuggets? I mean, you know, somewhere Adam Strange just is very excited. So Jaden Ivey. I don't really want to go back to Simons here, even though there is a significant, a difference of 7 there in the ranks. But I want more Klingon shares. So Donovan Klingon will join the team at pick 89. And now we've got him paired with Triple J at the big position. But, Jaden Ivey, Simons at this point, I think is a pretty good value. Totally fine to take a Bobby Portis here. I would want him over Cam Johnson. Kevin Porter Jr., I think CJ McCollum, right? There's a risk with McCollum. Maybe not even a risk. It might even be a likelihood that CJ McCollum is shut down in the final, 3-4 weeks of the season. But he could do a lot for this Wizards team, in the qualifying rounds. Got UNC on deck here. Coming around to the live chat turn here. UNC with the 3-3-1 build. Same with Kinnick. Cam Johnson goes off the board. A 2-3-2 for Maddie at the 1 spot. You look like a guy who takes charges. Yeah, how'd you guess? I used to. You used to take the charge. You don't take any charge. Yeah, don't take charges anymore. Have my high school's record for charges taken in a game. 7. I miss Kyle Lowry. Yeah. He's still technically, he's still in the league. You don't have to miss him that much. 7 in a game seems rigged. Dude, at least one of those were absolutely ridiculous. Horrific offense and decision making by the opponent. like fast break, guys at the 3-point line. I set my feet above the circle, still ran right into me. I know how to sell it though, that's for sure. Or I did. Too old for that stuff now, man. All right, we're on deck here. 3-3-2 build. Would take a Malik Monk share here for sure. He'd be the guy if we're just going off the rankings. The Kings are one of the... Okay, and this Larry Bird has a 2-2-4 build going, so... He takes C.J. McCollum. So it is going to be Malik Monk here for me at pick 104. Of course, the Kings, a little bit rudderless at this point. Could see Malik Monk going back to the 6th-man role this year, right? With Schroeder there. I would think he starts the year as the 1, but we'll see. It's a nasty-looking roster there in Sacramento. So Zakarian takes Khalil Ware at 107, right? Keep in mind, we got him at 130 in the last draft. Sometimes you just got to take that value that falls to you. What did you get? Did you get Modest again? Oh, Naz Reid. Okay. I gotta get the inside jokes refreshed in my head here. Maddie says, I could really sell a charge now because I wouldn't be able to get back up. Yeah, I guess that's true. I think that makes both of us. That makes 2 of us here. Aaron Gordon, Tobias Harris. We're back on deck with Rorschach on the clock. I would love to take a shot on Jonathan Kuminga right here, if he'll fall. And he does. Keontae George goes off the board, so... Right, this is a weird situation with Kuminga. Steve Kerr doesn't want him. Jonathan Kuminga, rightfully so, feels a certain way about not being wanted, but the Warriors extended the qualifying offer, so he's a restricted free agent. Being able to get a offensive talent like Jonathan Kuminga in the 1 teens feels pretty good. Like, we'll take that shot and hope that it works itself out, whether it's in Golden State or with another team. UNC takes Zach Edey. We're coming around the 10-11 turn here. I've got the 4-4-2 build so far. LaMelo, Cam Thomas, Jordan Poole, Malik Monk at guard. Much stronger group on the wing here with Paolo, LeBron, Markkanen, and Kuminga than Triple J and Donovan Clingan as the 2 bigs. A little bit of a run of wings there with Wiggins, Whitmore, and Norm Powell going off the board. Now Kyle Filipowski. Feels like, yeah, because it's not just those guys who drafted bigs poorly at the beginning in the 7 and the 10 slot, but like the 2 has 4 bigs now. Turner, Porzingis, Mark Williams, Filipowski. Feels like overkill. It's a very big, heavy draft. Like, this is setting up like 3rd big is going to be a Derek Queen, a Nimi Ushketa, a Young Hansen, somebody like that. Although I don't really want to take Young Hansen with Clingan in the mix on this roster, so scratch that from the record. We are on deck again with the 4-4-2 build in tow. Do have Paolo on the roster already. Jalen Suggs is the next highest player in my rankings. Brandon Pajimski, I believe, would be the pick by ADP, but we also have Jonathan Kuminga, who, his rights, of course, currently controlled by the Warriors. With the Magic being another one of those 22-game teams, and I think my guards being weaker overall right now than my wings, Suggs is going to be the pick. And see what kind of wing we can get our hands on here in the 12th. Devin Vassell, Brandon Pajemski go off the board. Now Zakarian on the clock with the 3.52. Any of y'all in the chat watch Eurobasket over the last month? I watched a ton of it. Although I did not get up for the 5 a.m. Central group stage games. Especially with no DFS offered this year around Eurobasket, which was definitely a disappointment. But it did save us all from having to get up for lock of some of those games. Might be another Tari Eason share here for me. Again, if I'm just going off my rankings, Dylan Harper would be the pick. I just think the upside there is immense. You pick up an injury to Fox, Castle, and again, the limited amount that we saw of Dylan Harper in the Summer League, yeah, I think he's going to be as advertised. So to be able to pick him up in the 12th or 13th round, again, that's why he is tied right now with 2 other players as my second most drafted player through the first 50 drafts or so. Moving through round 12, there goes Dylan Harper off the board at 140. 1 pick before UNC. Kinnick. Maddie come back up on the clock. Do you guys have any thoughts on Harper? Like Cason Wallace going before Dylan Harper. That seems nuts to me. Quentin Grimes, another one of those restricted free agents currently, right? JJ says bets Eurobasket, doesn't watch it. Fair, I guess. How'd you do? UNC says sniped on 2 of my favorite rookie guards. So Harper. Oh, and Kinnick got you on Trey last round. I see it. Yeah, I mean that's these rooms can be tough while we're all here together. I mean, I feel like we had a stream or 2 last year where we had like 8 or 9 of the 12 spots were guys that were in the live chat. Those can be tough. So Chris grabbed Quentin Grimes. Kinnick got Obi Toppin in the 12th. Maddie went Sexton, Drew Holiday. Sexton, another guy that I have a ton of shares of, especially on non-LaMelo teams. Like Sexton in Charlotte now. I have right now 27% LaMelo, 25% Colin Sexton. So I'm loading up on that Hornets backcourt there, the high usage guards. Kinnick grabs Karis LeVert, now a Piston, right? So getting another share, Detroit share with those 23 games in the playoff rounds. UNC with the 5-4-3 build here on the clock in round 13. Walter Clayton. Jazz, a 22-game team in the playoff rounds. And Walter, I want to say there was a quote that I saw as I'm on deck here. I want to say there was a quote that I saw. It was like, Walter Clayton is going to play. And yeah, I think Walter Clayton made a lot more sense to me for a team that's like needed rookies who can play rotation minutes now this year to help help a team that's trying to contend. So we're 5-5-2 here. Jared McCain would be the pick by my ranks. By ADP, it would be Klay Thompson. Now this is going to be a Jared McCain pick for me. I'm going to trust my rankings here. Trust that McCain, going to play a significant role here for Philadelphia. They did not run him out there in Summer League. So, right, Jared McCain's a starter right now for Philly, I believe. In what you would project to be their starting five, right? Maxey, of course, VJ, McCain, Paul George, Embiid. Maybe Oubre is out there, but I don't think so. So after I took McCain, Draymond, Klay Thompson, Derek Lively go off the board. Chris says, no more sniping my rookie guards, please. You all can have Yegor Devin. Yeah. So who'd you... Okay, well, you didn't get sniped a third time, right? Eve Meese off the board. Mike Zakarian on the clock. He takes Dennis Schroeder. Herb Jones. Now we're back in the mix here. Okay, Dylan Brooks off the board. Sorry for the silence. Just didn't want to. I'm going to go ahead, right? Daniel Gafford is higher in my ranks. I think I would rather take Nemiush Keita here, given that I'm going to need this guy to contribute for sure. And Keita has a much clearer path to starter level minutes. Even though Daniel Gafford, I think, a better fantasy producer, right? In turn, on a point per minute basis. Also would have been fine taking Jeremy Sohan there, who goes right after I take Keita. Would have been fine with, of course, my guy Jarris Walker. It appears you don't have to take him this early to just completely load up. Chris Boucher, Ron Holland. To make some edits to these rankings, right? Those rankings updates come out every Friday here for free at FTN Fantasy. Oh, happened again. What happened? What, Keontae? Oh, Keyshawn. I always want to say Keyshawn. Keyshawn George going off the board. I remember him being, we already had conversations in the DMs about Keyshawn, I believe. Maybe we were talking Washington as a whole, Chris. So UNC grabs Jovic. I think, again, Jovic in the last draft as well. Then Jay Huff to Kinnick. Boucher. I imagine, well, Maddie here on the clock, 5'6". I imagine you would have liked some Boucher there. And Maddie will go Yegor Devin there. And then Reed Shepard. I like those two picks. I would have loved those two picks before yesterday's trade. There's no way, but he's got to be updated. Yeah, okay, Brooklyn not being drafted. Yeah, I think you're going to see Kobe Buffkin enter the top 200. We'll see where he ends up landed on Friday's update, but getting down to it here, everybody. Into the penultimate round after Reed Shepard, Ryan Dunn went off the board. Now Kinnick on the clock with UNC on deck. Both with 6.53 builds. I also have a 6.53 going. And we talked about at the top, right, that the advance rate by roster build, right, that last year the two big builds were, they ruled the tournament. But in terms of those three big builds, 7.63 was the, quote unquote best roster build if you were going to take 3 bigs. So we're back here on the clock with the 6-5-3. We could take another Fears share, but Jordan Poole is in tow already. This is going to be a Ron Holland pick. Or if we're going by the official name here on Underdog, Ronald Holland on the team. Hoping for better things in year 2. One of the most miserable guys from an efficiency standpoint last year was Ron Holland. Ron Holland shot 23.8% from 3 on 2 attempts per game. You got to think that gets better over time. At least a little bit. Like, let's bring that up to 30 this year. Those numbers were consistent with his G League performance with Ignite the previous year. So maybe he doesn't. Maybe he doesn't become an acceptable shooter. Huge run of forwards there. UNC got Jarris, so I appreciate you, sir. After done, it was Grant, then Walker, then Keldon Johnson, Jalen with a Y, Williams. I like him late in drafts as well with that wing eligibility. Then Sam Hauser. Now I'm back on the clock here, 6-6-3 build, so we can go all sorts of ways here. I took Cole Anthony last time. Terrence Shannon. I like Aaron Wiggins too. I think it's going to be a Terrence Shannon share for me. Jordan Clarkson, another name right there in that mix in terms of ADP and my top 200 rankings. So it'll be Terrence Shannon as the pick there to close out my second draft of the day. And again, Minnesota, one of those teams with just 20 playoff games. So you're not getting a huge boost there. Schedule-wise in the playoff rounds, taking a Timberwolf. After I took Shannon, Jordan Clarkson, Lonzo Ball. Yeah, Lonzo Ball, a Cavalier this season. Ryan Kalkbrenner. Kalkbrenner, a completely acceptable 16th round pick. I think he may have a little bit of trouble finding consistent minutes with the first team early in the year, because he's going to be behind Plumlee and Diabate. Grant Williams will be back healthy this year, right? So I think Kalkbrenner, again, he's totally a guy you can take in the 16th, but he might just be a guy that you're only getting even the possibility of contributions on your best ball roster from in those playoff rounds. Charlotte, 21 games in the playoff round, so right in the middle of the pack there. So after Kalkbrenner, Herter, Hachimura, Sensabaugh, and Grady Dick, and that concludes our second draft of the day. We'll start with Maddie out of the 1 slot. Bigs of Jokic, Jalen Duren. Keeps it with that 8-6-2 build. So his 8 guards, Donovan Mitchell, Dyson Daniels, Jaden Ivey, adding to his bevy of Jaden Ivey ownership here in the preseason. Closing it out with 5 straight guards. Sexton, Drew Holiday, Yegor Dimon, Reed Shepherd, and Grady Dick. The 6 wings, Jalen Johnson, RJ Barrett, OG Anunoby, Bobby Portis, Cam Whitmore, Norman Powell. That is a very strong team. Kinnick drafting out of the 3 slot, 6-7-3 guards of James Harden, Jalen Green, Desmond Bain, Anthony Simons, Kevin Porter Jr., and Trey Johnson. On the wings, Cooper Flagg, Michael Porter Jr., Modest Buzelis. Is this a Kinnick team or UNC? Obi Toppin, Karis LeVert, Jeremy Grant, Rui Hachimura, Wemby at 3, and then he is paired up with Nick Claxton and Jay Huff. 7-6-3 for UNC, SGA, Tyrese Maxey, Austin Reeves, Brad Beal, Quentin Grimes, Walter Clayton, and Kevin Herter in the backcourt. KD, DeMar DeRozan, Oscar Thompson, Cam Johnson, Nikola Jovic, and Jarris Walker on the wings, and then his 3 bigs, Nasri, DeAndre Ayton, Zach Edey. I finished with a 7-6-3 build as well. On the wings, Paolo and LeBron, Lauri Markkanen, John Kuminga, Tari Eason, and Ron Holland. In the backcourt, LaMelo, Cam Thomas, Jordan Poole, Malik Monk, Jalen Suggs, Jared McCain, and Terrence Shannon. And then the three bigs, Jaren Jackson Jr., Donovan Clingan, and then Nemiush Keita in the 14th round. And haven't seen him in the chat here, but Mike Zakarian, our good buddy, 6'6" build for Mike here in the 11 slot. Guards, Trae Young, De'Aaron Fox, Andrew Nembhard, VJ Edgecombe, Dennis Schroeder, and Ayu Dosunmu. Wings, Jaylen Brown, Jimmy Butler, McCall Bridges, Paul George, Aaron Gordon, Con Knipple, and then his four bigs, Zion, Khalil Ware, Derek Lively, and Young Hansen. So I think that will do it here. A little over an hour and a half, everybody, on our first NBA Best Ball Draft Strategy live stream here at FTNFantasy.com. I appreciate all of you guys tuning in. If you weren't here at the top, we'll run this down again. My top 200 best ball rankings, free at FTNFantasy.com right now. Those are updated every Friday. For our FTN Fantasy subscribers, your best ball diary articles, right? We're diving into strategy, ADP shifts, all those kind of trends. Best ball diary articles every other week here at FTNFantasy.com leading up to the start of the season. If you're playing season long, I've got a top 150 of head-to-head points rankings also available on the site. That is also free. And again, one last reminder, if you have not signed up at Underdog to join us for these drafts, you can do so using that promo code FTN. You go over to Underdog or you download the app, you use that promo code at sign up, and then when you play just $5 at Underdog, you're going to get $50 in bonus funds. So not a bad deal there to get you started on Underdog Fantasy with that promo code FTN. UNC, appreciate you stopping by as always. Of course, also I agree with you. Fun as always. Looking forward to next Tuesday. Same time, same place here. We'll see, man. If we can get these drafts rolling, maybe we can get 3 of them in here on a single stream. So I appreciate all of you for stopping by and hope to see you here next week. Next week, man, jump into that YouTube live chat. Come hang out with us. Enjoy the rest of your week, everybody. Good luck in NFL Week 3. And make sure you check out those updated best ball rankings when they drop on Friday. And we'll see you next time. Goodbye.